Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. I'll do something different for you guys today. What I basically will do is that I will make a full flight tutorial of the Zibo 737 which we got right here. We're going to take a flight today from Bergen in Norway, and we're going to fly to Copenhagen in Denmark. And this will be a full flight tutorial where I will basically go on and tell you guys everything that I'm doing. Um, so yeah, let's get ready and jump straight into the cockpit. This is how it looks when it's completely cold and dark, and this is basically how you would find it if it has been standing overnight. So, first of all, we flip the battery switch on, and that illuminates some funny lights and noises here. And we go on to ground power. There we go. And then we turn the window heats on and the hydraulic pumps. The hydraulic pumps are turned on in real life, so when one of the pilots is doing his walk around, they can spot leaks. So what we do now is that we turn our packs to auto, and we turn the position light to steady so the ground crew knows that we're on ground power. What we do now is, because it takes a while, we turn on we align the IRSs by setting them to nav, and right then we turn this to, let's see here if I can show you, to heading status, and we got 1 minute to alignment. Um, I got this on quick align at the moment, um, but that is easily changed here. Configure customize, and I actually want real world, so we do realism, and align time, we go with real. There we go. We are going to go over the different kinds of settings that we can go over when we are up in the air, so don't you guys worry about that. But we're not done with the tab yet. We're going to go to fuel, weight, and balance, and we press payload. And on our flight plan, which we got right here, we can see that we're going to have a payload of 18.1 and a fuel of 10.0. That means that we're going to have 10 tons of fuel. So I'm going to drag that to my other screen, and we set payload 18.1, like so. Bada boom, as I always say. And fuel we set 10.0. There we go. And now we press back and fuel truck. Don't forget the fuel truck, otherwise you won't have fuel. Alright, so we go down to our FMC, and we can see a little message here saying enter IRS position. That means that without the IRS position, the airplane won't know where we are. So we can delete that, and we go to FMC, go see, so everything here is correct. And now we go to pause init, and we are at Bergen, which is Echo November Bravo Romeo, and set that to ref airport. Then we press on next page and grab GPS left, to the so-called scratch pad, go to previous page again, and you see that it says here. Those numbers goes here, and as you can see there, the IRS is aligned, and now we got those screens alive. Awesome. Right now we go to root, and we are going to punch in our route right now. So origin, we are at Echo November Bravo Romeo, and Copenhagen, the ICAO code is Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel, like so. And our flight number will be uh, November Alpha X-ray. In this case, we have a flight number of November Alpha X-ray 68 Zulu. So 68 Zulu. There we go. You don't have to punch in the flight number. That is just something I like to do. I don't know why. That basically creates a slightly higher workload. Alright, now we got the rest of the route to go, so we press on departure arrival, and we can see that we got our origin and our destination right here. So we press on departure, and we can see on our flight plan, let's hear, there we go. We can see on our flight plan that we are going to depart from runway 17, and that wasn't possible. Alright. There we got Sim Toolkit Pro. And yeah, I'm gonna have to hide this. From runway 17, we are going to take Tuxil 3 Charlie. So we can't see it right here. So we go to the next page, and there we got Tuxil 3 Charlie. No transition. Cool. That means that we are going direct to Tuxil from Tuxil 3 Charlie. And like so. Cool. From there we're going direct to Zul. From Zul we're taking Lima 621. Lima 621. And that goes right there. And from Lima 621 we are going direct to AAL, American Airlines, as I always say. From there we're taking Tango 551. Tango 551. And from there we're going direct to Tespi. So, Tespi. So what we can do now is we can actually cross-check this. So, Tuxil 3 Charlie, Tuxil, from there direct Seoul, Lima 621 to AL, Tango 551 to Tespi, and that looks correct. Cool. So, what I want to do now is I want to activate this, but not execute it right away. So we press on departure arrival, and now we can see that that light went out. That is no problem at all. And we go press EKCH arrival, and we are going to take Tespi to Bravo. So do that, and Tespi to Bravo, and we're going to do ILS 12 approach. Cool. There we go. Now we can execute. From there we're going to perf in it, and we only press this. And reserves, you can find your reserves in the flight plan. You can see it right here on extra. It says 3000. That is 3.0. So 3.0. And because I'm flying for my virtual airline, recording this for my virtual airline, I'm going cost index 25. If we go further down the flight plan, we go actually right here, we can see that we're going to have a cruise altitude of 350. So 350. Um, you can see that right there. What I'm interested in now is these numbers, which is 185022. Remember, we are still on our top of climb here. So 185022. So I do that, and 185/022. The slash is very important, and we set that to cruise wind. Now, what I'm interested in is that you see that this says P13, and that is our IC deviation. So that means that is positive 13. So we press positive. We just press 13. If it's minus, we press on this one. But now we just go for 13, and we set that to IC deviation, and these fill in automatically. And right here we can see that we get a transition altitude of 7,000. Cool, we execute that. And one limit. What I like to do is that I like to derate the engines, but we can still go with the normal climb. What these basically means is that how steep your climb will be, basically. But I like to go with the normal climb, but with a 22k derate if I can. Alright, takeoff. This page is not to be done until fueling is done, otherwise you will not have the correct numbers. Right here we can see that this is green, which basically means that the fueling is done. So we can actually even start the flight leg, and now we got some movement in the back. We go back to the FMC. Standard flap setting is 5. So we go with the flaps 5 departure and press CG. And we will have a trim value of 525. So we go down here and we set approximately 525. Right here we got V1 145, VR 146, and V2 151. So V1, that is basically where you are admitted to takeoff. This is the speed where there's no return. There's no way that you can safely stop on the runway in case you would have an engine malfunction or something like that. VR 146, that is basically when you lift up the nose and starts rotating. And V2 151, that is the minimum safe climb speed. So what we want to do now is that we want to we can set the this one right about there. Should the pressure be? You can see that on the yellow. So what we want to do now, we can see that our V2 is 151. So we want to set 151 right here. There we go. And we set the heading to match the runway. Something like that will do me just fine. And we set this to 350 because we are going without any ATC. Otherwise, you would have to go with what ATC gives you. And we also set 350 up here. That is very important. Otherwise, you're gonna have a cabin pressure warning, and that is a horrible alarm to have. So you don't, under any circumstances, want that. What I forgot to do is basically I forgot to turn on the no smoking and fasten seatbelt sign and emergency exit lights, but that ain't a problem. Alright, we can now start preparing our pushback. So we go to better pushback right here. We can see ground services, better pushback, and pre-plan. And we can see that I already have a pushback route, so
Ground to cockpit. Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
we just press enter on that one. What I like to do at this point is start up APU. So we turn on the aft one. We turn on the aft left fuel pump and then APU. So 1 and 2 and 3. You're supposed to hold that for 3 seconds, and we can now turn on the APU bleed. What I also can do right now is that if we look here, our elevation is 17 feet in Denmark. So if it's above 25 feet, you run this up to 50. You take this by 50. But because it's only 17, we can leave that at 0. And we can execute that light. There we can see that the APU is ready to go. So we do that. And we can now call for the pushback.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
And here we can see the pushback truck coming. If you excuse me, I will grab a little to drink. Right? And the things I'm telling you right now isn't based on everything real procedure. What they do in real life is
okay, all
standard,
doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
and that it's standard for all companies. Otherwise, I ain't following any company's procedures or whatsoever, simply because I'm not a real pilot and I don't know any real company's procedures. So if I say that something is real procedure, that ain't based on company procedure. That is what everybody does. At this time, we can turn on the anti-collision light, and also, if you're unsure what these lights are, wheel well can come on as well. Because it's daytime outside, we don't have to
Tow
turn
connected
on
and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
we don't have to turn on the logo simply because it's daytime. Alright, now we release parking brake, which I did by pressing the toe
Starting
brake
pushback, and you may start engines.
on my rudder pedals. What you can do at this time is that you can turn on the yaw damper, and we got fuel in all 3 tanks, so we turn on all 3 tanks pumps. And we can turn on the probe heat, and we turn off the packs. If you don't do that and don't have APU bleed on, you will not get an engine start. Real procedure is that you start with engine number 2, so you turn that to ground, and we set that to legs page, and then you look at this and wait for 25%. So we got 25 coming up here. There we got 25. And there we heard that one pop. It automatically turns and goes into auto.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
We can now start engine number 1 and set our parking brake.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
So once again, we are waiting for 25%. There we got 25, so we give it some fuel. And there you will see this one hop into place. There we go. And we got 2 good engine starts. What we
So
will
it's
do now
disconnected and
is
bypass pin has been
turn
removed.
on,
Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
we turn on the engine generators and we can now turn off the APU. Those will go to continuous and packs and isolation valve goes to auto, which is in the middle, and APU bleed can come off. So right now everything up here looks good. What we will do now is that we will set the flap 5 setting, which basically is 3 clicks, like so. And that goes to RTO. We can turn on the flight directors, auto throttle, arm, VNAV, LNAV armed. And now we can check our flight controls. So checking the flight controls, you can see here on the MFD. So if we press engine, looks like that, and it looks like that if we would have turned it on. So we got the information right there. But we want to turn to system, and we test forward, back, left, right, rudder left, and controls look good, and now we want that screen. And we can also confirm that we have set flaps to 5. What you also want to do is that you want to check so this so-called tiller is actually moving when you turn the on your rudder pedals, or yeah, what you very often what you use for your rudders is also ground movements. So we test the tiller like so, and we can see that it moves. If it wouldn't move, we would like to go into settings and hardware, and we want this nose wheel axis to be on yaw. If we set it to roll, we see that it moves, and also VR. I don't use VR, so I want it set to yaw. And now we save that. I always click twice. What we want to do now is that we want to turn on the taxi lights. When we check, so all lights up here looks good, and everything looks mighty fine. And we can do a recall check by pressing the black button right there. So let's taxi out to runway 17. So we can advance the engines to about 40%. What we want to do right now is a so-called configuration check. So we do that by advancing the engines real quick, real high. And let's see. One noise that you simply don't want to hear, you can hear the same noise by setting the parking brake to on, is that noise. That noise will come if you have the parking brake on, or if you don't have the flaps set to minimum 5 degrees. So right now we are taxiing out to the runway, and we don't want to take turns at a higher speed than 10 knots, which you can clearly see right there. So we want to slow this down a little bit. And right here, we should not go at a higher speed than 15 knots. Otherwise, if this was real life, I would actually get a ticket for going faster than 15 knots. It is very easy to overspeed. And right here, because we are out of the gate area, we can advance the throttles up to 30 knots. But I take into consideration that we got turns coming up here, so I will have to slow down just a little bit. There we go. These small turns doesn't really matter that we are overspeeding a little bit. And now we can advance the throttles once again. The reason why you set this auto brake to RTO is simply because if you press the brakes over 100 knots indicated airspeed, the automatic brakes will automatically go on to max. So right now we can see that we got flaps 5 setting. Right, at this time, if you're flying on VATSIM and they tell you to turn on the transponder, which they should do right now, right now is a good time to turn on the transponder. So you turn this to the right as far as you can. And at this time, you tell the cabin crew to get seated. Strobe lights can come on, and now she's lit up like a Christmas tree. Right now we have all lights turned on to get as visible as possible. So let's line up with the runway. And we can set forward on the yoke, and we can advance the engines to 40%. And when we see that they're stabilized right about now, we simply press toga. And we push forward on the yoke. Airspeed is alive. And right now you want to stay as
80
centered.
knots.
Check. Right now you want to stay as centered on the as possible on the line here.
V1, rotate.
And we are rotating.
Positive rate.
That's my name. And now we can select gear up and trim.
400.
We want to use the trim wheel as much as possible.
1000.
Check. And what we want to do, I should be able to fly the plane like this. I want to see that square right there. I want to keep it at the center as much as possible of this cross right here. At this time we can turn on the autopilot. And we can set the gear lever to off. Auto brake can come off as well. And we can turn off the retractable landing lights and the taxi lights. Oops, little bumpy. Right now we can set flaps 1. That is 2 clicks. And right here we select flaps up. Pretty cool stuff. Alright, we are above 7,000 feet, which basically means that right now we should go standard altimeter. Then we hit 10,000 feet, which basically means that all landing lights and runway turn-off lights can come off. We can also set engine starters to auto at this point, and wing light can come off. And the plane will automatically start accelerating. We will go through some settings when we reach our cruise altitude. Until then, enjoy the climb. I have to say that this is pretty funny looking clouds going down like that. Holy shit. Well, what? I don't know what to say about that.
1,000 to go.
All right, we are coming into our top of climb. What we can see here is T/C. That basically means top of climb, and we can see right here a little marking where our top of climb is. So right now, as promised, we're gonna go and step through the settings that we can find right here. So we are going down here, and what we got here is Avitab basically, so we can get our charts right here. And stuff like that. So it has Navigraph. You can set your charts right here for Navigraph. Airport. So if we say Echo, see, where do we find it? Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel, and we press that, and we got some information here for Copenhagen. And I haven't really figured out how to scroll, but I guess that'll be good. And we also got a moving map right here, so we can see exactly where we are. Here we got some credits to all the people that deserves credits, of course. What we also got here is a PA system, and right here we got PA settings for different companies and that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, different kinds of PAs. Right here we got ground services, GPU connect, de-icing, air stairs, shocks, better pushback doors, cabin lighting, and ASU, and save and load different settings. So right here you can activate different kinds of failures if you want to on the aircraft. We're not gonna do that simply because I don't know how to handle different kinds of emergencies. We got to configure and customize, and we start with display variants. So if we take fuel gauge, for example, which is this one, that's how you change that. So now you can see that it's this one, total 8 tons of fuel. And right here you got the little more old school variant. ND display, we do it like that. Distance rings, so you can remove that if you want to. I like to have them there. LDU flight control, don't know what that is. Brake temperature, if you want to know what that is. You can set this to whatever you like. If you want to have a SATCOM, can have it in the front like that, or if you want to have rear, so you got that one at the rear, or you can have both. So one in the front and one in the rear. I like to have none. Landing pulse light. I think that only works with LED. So if we turn on the landing lights, you can see that it's pulsing from side to side. Pretty cool little thing actually. Let's see if it works with halogen as well. And it does work. Awesome. Let's see. Yep, it works. I don't like that though, so I like to have it no. HUD, or heads up display, is this one right here, where you can see information that you might need. Pretty handy to have when it's dark. But that is also a personal preference, and I like to have it off. So right here, basically the information on this display right here, and I like to have it here. Multi-mode receiver is this one right here. If you want this setup, or if you want this, a little more old school. I like to have the multi-mode receiver though, so I'm gonna keep that one. The different callouts, I like to have them all, so I'm keeping that. Hardware. Toe brakes axis, I like to have them at difference. Nose wheel axis, very important to have on yaw if you don't have your own tiller. Throttle noise lock, don't know what that is, but that is set on off. Park brake remove chocks, I like to have that on because otherwise I completely forget about them. Auto throttle engage lock throttle. So when you have auto throttle engaged, basically what you can do is move your throttles. So if you look at this blue one right there, you can see that I'm moving my throttle, but it doesn't affect these throttles right here. So you can see that I'm moving. So that is very good to have on. Yoke audio auto center, I like to have that on. Otherwise, I have everything on off. Realism. Align time, real. Refuel time, real. Pause at top of descent, I like to have that on off. Tire blown advanced is on. Yoke movement, if you move your yoke, it disconnects the autopilot like this. Park and brake set, I like to keep that on real. Autopilot yoke neutral, I don't know what that is. visual effects, windshield effects. You can copy all of my settings if you want to. Passengers, show, hide, or auto. That basically means that when you press on start flight leg, right there, it basically shows passengers on board. Strobe effect in cockpit, I like to have that on. I don't fly VR, so I keep that on off. Show FPS, which is basically this one, if you want to see what your FPS is showing at the moment. Flight director helper, I keep that on off. General config, global units, I like to keep that in kilos. Barrel units, inches. Minimums on radio. Hide yoke, basically if you want to show or hide. Chocks on startup, I like to have that on off. Engine not running, which basically means if you want to start up cold and dark or in a turnaround state, I like to start up cold and dark. VOR radial course, I like to keep that on. And flight plan save format, FMX. Checklist, do you want simple or detail? We're gonna go back to the checklist soon. Right here we can follow with the heading actually. And there we can see our top of descent. Something I forgot to do is show you how to check the flight plan. So basically, by standard, this is on map. You want to set this to PLN, which stands for plan. Then we go to legs page and we just step through, which we do to see so everything looks good, and we exclude that vector right there and press execute. There we go. Cool. Now that is checked. And there we go. So we'll go to the next page here. Sync pilot QNH. You want to sync this to the captain side because you set the captain side and it automatically sets the first officer. We got no fuel in the center tank, so we can set that off. But yeah, the QNH sets automatically as I set it here on captain side. So if we do that, you can see that it starts moving right there. Sync pilot standby barometer. You want to sync that as well. Headset comm captain. Hide cockpit seats. So basically, if you see this one right here, now we have no seats in the cockpit. But for the realism, I like to keep the seats. Create custom nav data. I don't really like that, so I skip that. General config. Sorry. Here you got volumes and stuff like that. No, sorry. Here you got the volumes. And calibration, which we can just leave as it is. We were talking a little bit about the checklists, which you find right here. So you can box this off, use. Pretty basic stuff. Got a lot of checklists right here. I personally doesn't use checklists. So right now we are just waiting for the top of descent. So I'll be right back. And once again, now we made a turn, and we want to follow with the heading, because if you are flying on, for example, VATSIM, and another plane comes a little too close to you, they might give you another heading to fly. So instead of having your heading right here, and they want you to do a left-hand turn, you simply select the heading that you have, and you got it as close as possible to the heading that they are assigning to you. Right here we can see our top of descent, T/D. That means top of descent. So what we will have to do is that we will have to take a look at our charts, which I completely forgot to prepare, but that doesn't take too long. And we are coming in for we are coming into ILS 12, and we can see that we're going to descend to 3000. What you have to do right now is that you will have to reset the MCP down to 3000, otherwise the aircraft will not descend. So that is very important, otherwise you're going to miss your top of descent. So we got about 19 nautical miles. I have this set to 40, so basically this is 10, 20, 30, 40. What I can do, if I'm not sure of exactly how many nautical miles I got to my top of descent, I set this to cruise, and right there I can see I got 16 nautical miles. And this is automatically gonna change to the descent page as soon as we start our descent. And right here, if we zoom in right here, right now, as we come closer, we're going to see it right here. There, that changed to the descent page, and right here we can see how we are doing on our descent profile. And you can see that we stepped a little bit over, but that ain't an issue. We will basically have a descent rate that makes us catch up with the descent profile. And we are over speeding a little bit, so we bring out a little bit of spoilers, which basically is those funny things on the wings. Don't really need too much. Bring out a little more though. There we go. And now we are on the correct speed. What we can do, if we want to slow down, what we can do is that we click on that button right there and simply set this to where we want it. Right now we don't really want to do that. We just want to get on the ground as quick as possible. And we will have our 80s on 122.750, so we set that into our radio right here. So 122.750. There we go. And in a while we will at approximately 10,000 feet, we can wait until then. We are going to listen to the 80s and see what our ILS and the active runway is. I think though that no matter what, we are going to go for the runway 12 as planned. And right here you can see even more green letters. We are going to pause our descent at 12,000 feet, and this is the top of descent from 12,000 feet. And right here we see decel. That means that that's where the speed, that is where we are going to decelerate, probably because we're going to hit 10,000 feet right about there. So we are keeping a very nice descent right here. We're overspeeding a little bit, so we can slow down a little bit. You want to keep the speed as close to this as possible. Basically, so you always know that you got the speed under control. And what I will do is that I will take a screenshot of this. There we go. Set that back to 40. Well, let's bring out some spoilers again, just to control the speed. There we go. And there we see that we slows down, so we want to bring out the spoilers to know that we are slowing down a little further. And at this time we can see the ILS right here, so we can see if we can listen to the ATIS. And we got the information right here. So altimeter was 2976. So we set that right there. And now we can retract the spoilers and accelerate the aircraft a little bit. And right now we also want to do recall check. Arriving runway was 22 left and 22 right. So what I should do is that I should basically change that in the FMC, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna land on runway 12, but it's really easy doing a runway change. I just simply don't have the energy. You just go into arrival and change it right here. And you would also, in this case, have to change the start. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to land on runway 12. Right now, what we want to do is that we want to keep the aircraft on the 250 mark and to make sure that we keep within the legal speed. Under 10,000 feet, it's illegal to fly over 250 knots, so we keep it down to 240 just to make sure that we are within the legal limits. Right now we hit 10,000 feet, so at this time what we can do is that we can actually turn on the landing light that was already on. We can turn those off, those can come on, those go to continuous again, and wing light can come on just to be lit up, so to speak. What we also can do at this time is that we can set the auto brake and we set that to 1. Because if you set it to RTO and you press the brakes, you automatically set max brakes, which we don't want. We want a smooth brake power, so we set it to 1 and then it will go smooth. What we also can do is that we can go down to the FMC and start preparing the ILS. It's a little early, but no problem. So we can start preparing for our arrival. We will do a flaps 40 landing because we have the winds coming in from our direct side. And the course will be 119er. Like so. There we go. And the airplane don't like to descend for some reason. Now we have to bring out some spoilers because they will, for instance, help out with the descent. There we go, we're coming into our glide path. The aircraft is doing pretty weird stuff, but I don't know. So we set flaps 40, 144, that is our VREF speed. And right there, when we come in to land, we want to set that plus 5. There we go. And we can now decelerate the aircraft to our flaps up speed. The spoilers can stay out for a little while longer, but we want to configure the ILS at this time. Okay, we don't need the spoilers, so we can arm the spoilers. So you see that it's in the armed position, and speed brake armed. The green light is showing, but we don't have any spoilers out. And we want to configure the ILS. So 109er 90. What you want to do is 1 1090 109090. You want to do that on both sides, and what you can do is that you can set the ILS to test that it actually works, because sometimes it says error right here and you only use these until you see ILS right here again. So now when we're done with that, we can go to our flaps 1, and we want to set that like so. Oh no, bring out some spoilers. And we can bring that a little closer so we got a little more situational awareness. And we can set flaps 5 to help us slow down a little further. Basically, we are pushing the flaps right now to its limits. That is never recommended to do, but
1,000 to go.
doing it like I do now is okay. It works. You won't damage the flaps this way. And right now we can go back to spoilers armed, so we don't forget that we have the spoilers out, basically. That is very easy to forget, and you're not legally it's not even legal to have these spoilers out after you select flaps 10, simply because then you will the surface of the wings changes, so you can actually stall the aircraft. At this time we can activate the ILS on the captain's side as well, and we can see that the diamond here starts moving, and we can now arm the approach. Cool. We are now fully established on the ILS already. And we want to set this to 119er.
2500.
And that is our call for gear down and flaps 15. And you will follow with the speed. Can actually set this to 149 right away. That is 144 plus 5. Flaps 25. And flaps 40. And now when we are fully established, I like to turn all lights on. And there we can see the runway straight ahead of us. What I like to do now is follow with the throttle. So you see that I'm moving this. I like to follow this. And right now I don't got much manual flying skills, but I will do my best. So I'm gonna take manual control of the aircraft at this time. So right now I want to keep the diamonds as much in the middle as possible.
1000.
Check.
1,000 feet stabilized, Mr. Perch, altitude set.
Yeah, we're good. We are looking good. So Get down, flaps 40. Auto brake set to 1. Landing lights are on. And we are a little bit off center here. So we want to adjust that. Doing a little bit of a side swipe here. And we forgot to set our minimums, but that's cool. What I do then is that I call minimums at 200 feet.
300.
There we go.
200.
Landing. And now I go visual.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20.
Close.
10.
Well, floating. Alright, I'll take that. And now we want to keep to the center line as much as possible.
$80 knots.
Check, so we stall those reversers and go to manual braking, which basically shuts off the auto brake. That can come off. And now we want to get off the runway as soon as possible, so we can get off the runway right here. And then we don't take this turn too fast. So in with the spoilers, up with the flaps. And we see the flaps going in right there. And we can now turn off the landing lights. And those guys go to continuous. Strobes can come off. And now we taxi to the gate. And then I will explain what I did in those final moments before touchdown, but we do that during the replay. And I don't really know where I'm at, actually, but I think I'm going the right way. I think so. We will just take any gate right here. And a real procedure is to turn on the landing lights and the strobes as soon as you cross in a runway. Once again, to enhance the visibility for other planes. Now we cross that runway, so landing lights can come off again and strobes can go to steady. And let's see where I'm at. Right, we'll go right here. At this time, we can turn on the APU, so 1 and 2 and 3. And that is to make sure that we got electrical power until the ground crew has connected the ground power when the aircraft is shut off, when the engines are shut off on the aircraft. We're gonna collide? No? Cool. Hashtag I have no clue how small I actually am. Alright, we just gonna take a gate. So we want to turn right here on Romeo. And this is, by the way, a payware scenery. Alright, turn on the APU generators, and taxi lights can come off. And same with runway turn-off lights. Oopsie. We can also turn off the flight directors at this point. And we stop the aircraft right there. Parking brake is on. Engine 1 is off. Engine 2 is off. Welcome to Copenhagen, everybody. Cool. So we can turn some lights off right here. Whoopsie. APU bleed can come on. Packs and isolation valve. Isolation valve on and packs to off. And basically, for the sake of this tutorial, we're gonna leave it at that. And I'm going to finish the flight for my VA. Like so. And on Syn Toolkit Pro, complete flight. There we go. And now I'm gonna turn that off. Exit. Cool. So right now we are going to toggle replay mode. And we do shift 5. No, that was not correct. Alright, we do this view. So right here you can see me come in. Not really the best approach, but I guess I'll take it. So we are kind of crabbing a little bit right here because we had the wind coming from our right side. So here you see me come in. And right here I was visual. So over those numbers you want the 50 call out. And right here you see me flare the aircraft to change the surface of the wings and make the landing as smooth as possible. and then we try to keep on the center line as much as possible. And as you may have seen, I don't got very much skills, but it's cool. I think I did a pretty good job on this approach. But yeah, that was this tutorial, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you would like to see more content on my channel and see me go live quite often, actually, make sure to like, and if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe. And hopefully later on, when I learn some more aircraft, I will absolutely make tutorials of them as well. So I'll never stop having content coming up on the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in any of my streams. Have a good one. Bye bye.